it's fascinating though, because while I've seen Christians say, "Hey, I don't want to be involved in this," yet you see so many Christians that are. I mean, they have taken it religiously. And I wanted to draw on what you actually mentioned with the political therapeutic deism. You had 5 points, which what you meant by that to explain it. You said God is on my political party's side. My views on political issues are a leading indicator that I'm a true Christian. 3, my actions in politics are justified in light of God's general approval of my politics. 4, I do not understand how other, quote, Christians could vote for my candidate's opponent. I've actually heard people say that.
Yeah.
And it is clear and obvious which political issues are most important to God.
Yeah.
Now, those themselves, some people are listening right now and they're saying, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with any of that? That's where I'm at right now.
Mm.
But we've seen that's not necessarily shaped from the scripture. It is something that has come in over time. You also talk about a moral framework in the middle of this and this is where can you elaborate on that moral framework? I think moral knowledge is what you called
Oh,
it.
yeah. Well, yeah. So right. So this is I mean, they're all related topics, but yeah. So disappearance of moral knowledge is probably arguably, Dallas Willard's principal sort of academic focus. So he had been working on a book on this subject for years. He didn't complete it before he passed, but several of his doctoral students did finish the book, and so there's an academic book that was published, I think, in the last 5-7 years on the disappearance of moral knowledge. And to summarize, Willard's argument is that in the post-World War II era, gatekeepers of knowledge, principally academia, but also other decision makers, believed that and acted as if moral and religious knowledge did not count as publicly available knowledge, that moral knowledge was not fit to be taught by public institutions of knowledge. The problem, of course, is that we live in a moral universe,
Mhm.
and we make moral decisions every day at the individual level, but also at the societal level. If you excise consideration as moral knowledge as having authority, you don't, as we're seeing now, you don't strip out from the public square moral assertions. So I would argue that the relativism of the 90s is dead. Like if you're a Christian worldview expert, if you think that the principal ideological sort of opponent of Christianity is relativism still, I'd encourage you to just like read the newspaper and assess the kinds of conversations people are having now. People are not wary of making moral assertions. What is part of what is making our public square so fractious, so full of conflict, so full of bloviation, is that people don't think that their moral assertions have any moral authority. And that leads to a real crisis. And importantly for Willard, the disappearance of moral knowledge shares some similarities with those who would say we live in a post-Christian society would use that term. I don't like using that term. Willard didn't like using that term, though there are some exceptions among for both of us. Um, uh, uh, but for Willard, it was important as he describes how the disappearance of moral knowledge has come to be. It's not something that was imposed from the outside, from the secular world on Christians. Christians participated in and contributed to the disappearance of moral knowledge. It's just the air we breathe, and that helps. I think. I mean, A, I think it's true, but B, it also helps it, the disappearance of moral knowledge from turning into one more cultural war narrative, because that's just not the history. That's not what has been happening here. So churches, Christians should be asking themselves uh, 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 where they see the disappearance of moral knowledge uh, in in their lives, in our churches. And I would argue that politics is a primary location of where you can see that.